Agricultural economics and marketing. Economics defined, the social science of economics is concerned with the production, distribution, and consumption of goods and services. It investigates how individuals, businesses, governments, and nations make resource allocation decisions. There are a number of definitions of economics. 1. For economists, economics is a study of how human beings satisfies their material needs and wants from the resources available, or LIFC and current. 2. It is a science of choice, the science that explains the choices we make and how those choices change as we cope with scarcity. 3. For businesses, it is a study of principles and policies which determine the volume of output of goods and services, level of employment and income, and the manner in which the price system functions and income is distributed. Economics, it comes from the Greek word oikonomia, which means management of the household. The word oikos means house and nomos means law. The three elements of economic perspectives are scarcity, a condition in which resources available are insufficient to satisfy human wants. The basic concepts related to scarcity are choice, trade-off, opportunity cost. So choice, because of limited budget, consumers make choices among several goods and services available. Because of limited resources, businesses choice between the different combinations of inputs to produce a certain product. Trade-off. It is a choice between alternative uses for a given quantity of resources. Using resources for one purpose means that the same resources cannot be used for another purpose. In other words, we give up something to get something else. Opportunity cost. It is the real economic cost of a good or service produced or measured by the value of the sacrificed alternative. It refers to the cost or value of the highest valued alternative we give up in preferring our chosen alternative. B. Rational behavior. Economics is grounded on the assumption of rational self-interest. Equilibrium. The market equilibrium, price and quantity is determined by the interaction of supply and demand. Market equilibrium quantity refers to the quantity where quantity supplied and quantity demanded are equal. Market equilibrium price refers to the price where quantity supplied and quantity demanded are equal. It is the price that clears the market. Elasticity. Elasticity concept. Elasticity is used to quantify the response in one variable when another variable changes. Elasticity can be computed in two ways: the pointed elasticity and arc elasticity, or average. So point elasticity, it is the elasticity computed as a single point. And the arc elasticity, or average, it is the elasticity computed between two separate points of the curve. Price elasticity of demand. The ratio of the percentage change in quantity demanded of the product that consumers will buy in response to percentage change in price along a given demand curve. It measures the responsiveness of the quantity demanded of a good to a change in its price, all other factors ceteris paribus. Formula. Elasticity demand change in QD, where ED equals to price elasticity of demand percentage in price. Total revenue test. If demand is elastic, a decline in price will result to an increase in total revenue. If demand is inelastic, a decline in price will result to a decrease in total revenue. If demand is unitary elastic, price changes will not affect total. So macroeconomics. Beginnings of macroeconomics. Macroeconomics is concerned with performance of the economy as a whole or with large sectors of it, such as government, business firms, and household. Macroeconomics attempts to explain why the economy's total output of goods and services fluctuates over time, giving time to the business cycle with its accompanying upward and downward movements in the employment and inflation rates. So here's the classification. The roots of macroeconomics. In 1930s Great Depression of US economy, or 1920s or 1929 began 1.5 million unemployed, and 1933 13 million unemployed out of 51 million labor force. In 1936, John Maynard Keynes published the book The General Theory of Employment, Interest, and Money. According to him, it is not prices and wages that determine the level of employment, but rather the level of aggregate demand for goods and services. He also believes that government can intervene in the economy and affect the level of output and employment. The government's role when demand is low is to stimulate aggregate demand and by doing so, lift the economy from recession. In 1960s, Walter Heller, chair of the Council of Economic Advisors, coined the term fine-tuning, where fine-tuning refers to the government's role in regulating inflation and unemployment. Here's the components of the macroeconomy. They are the private sector, or also called the household and firms, while the government are the public sector. Rest of the world means international sector. Here's the three market arenas. Goods and service market. Business firms is the major supplier sector. Labor market. Households in the major supplier sector to business firms and government. Money or financial market refer broadly to any marketplace where the trading of securities occurs, including the stock market, bond market, and forex market. The non-productive transactions excluded in the GNP or GDP are the purely financial transaction, second-hand sale or buying and selling of second-hand products, used or surplus goods, and they involve double counting, capital gains and losses, and illegal activities. Permanent income theory and permanent income theory. So, absolute income theory. Consumption is a function of the current level of income. Relative income theory. Consumption is function to what one is accustomed to, by James Dusenberry. Permanent income theory. Consumption is a function of permanent income or expected long-term avenue income, and transitional anticipated Milton Friedman. General consumption theory of Keynes states that the higher someone's income is, the higher his or her consumption is likely to be. Thus, people with high income tend to spend more than people with less income. That was the general consumption theory of Keynes states. Factors affecting the level of aggregate consumption. These are the tastes and preferences, current and expected process, the availability of goods, advertising, interest rates, credit, expected future earnings, someone else's expenditure patterns, liquid assets, debts, real wealth, availability of consumer installment. So here comes the income and investment. Investment is the spending of business firms in capital goods. It is a decreasing function of rate of interest. Intended investment is the amount of investment business firms plan to invest. Unintended investment refers to the change in business inventories due to discrepancy between aggregate supply and aggregate demand. Realized investment is the sum of intended and unintended investment. And all investments shall be undertaken up to the point at which the rate of net profit is equal to interest rate. Determinants of net investment spending. There are two classifications. They are expected rate of net profits and interest rate. So, expected rate of net profits, it is if the investment will generate more higher profits, greater investments occurs. Interest rate, if the expected net profit is higher than the interest rate, the investment increases and total demand for investment goods increases. Simple income determination. Two-sector economy. National income determination is one of the subject matters of macroeconomics. Using simple equilibrium model, the equilibrium level of income and consumption and savings can be determined. So, multiplier. Multiplier refers to the ratio of change in the equilibrium level of output to a change in some autonomous variable or planned investment. The basic idea of multiplier is that the initial change is in planned investment stimulates multiple spending increases. A variable is autonomous when it is taken as given. Also, multiplier seeks to answer the question how much the equilibrium level of output changes when planned investment changes. That was the multiplier seeks to answer the question. So let's go to macroeconomics concern. So macroeconomic concerns. The basic cycles. The business cycles. Business cycle refers to the current ups and downs in the level of business activity. Excuse me. It refers to long periods of changes in economic activities in contrast with seasonal cycles, which are reflected in the changes that may be observed within a given year. So here are the phases of business cycles. They are the peak, recession, through, and recovery or expansion. So peak is economies at full employment and national output is very close to capacity. Price level is likely to be rising. And recession, output and employment both decline. Price tend to be inflexible or sticky in a downward direction. Price level is likely to fall only if the recession is severe and prolonged or depression. Through, output and employment bottom out of their lowest level, and recovery or expansion is the economy's level of output and employment expand toward full employment. Macroeconomic problems. Unemployment and inflation are considered as two most serious econ that the fact is that there is a trade-off between the two, that is, inflation cannot be eliminated without rising unemployment and at least for some time, and moderate unemployment cannot be cut sharply without the risk of raising inflationnomic problems in many countries including the Philippines. So here are the types of employment. They are the frictional unemployment or surge unemployment or wage unemployment, structural employment, cyclical unemployment, and seasonal unemployment. So frictional unemployment, this refers to workers who are either searching for jobs or waiting to take the jobs in the near future. This can be never zero. And the structural unemployment, this is the unemployment resulted from mismatch or in the long run of skills the workers have versus the skills needed. And the cyclical unemployment or deficient demand unemployment, this refers to the recession phase of the business cycle, and this is caused by deficiency of total spending. And last, seasonal unemployment. This occurs to some industries of which production spend depends upon the season or weather. So, measurement of unemployment. The population is divided into three. These are the people under age, not in the labor force, or people who are potential workers but some reason refuse to work, and the labor force. Labor force refers to the number of people employed plus the number of unemployed. Employed refers to any person 18 years old and older who works for pay either for someone else or in his or her own business for 1 or more hours per week, who has a job but has been temporarily absent with or without pay. Unemployed refers to any person 8 years old and older who is not working, is available for work, and has made specific efforts to find work during the previous 4 weeks. Inflation, deflation, and disinflation. Inflation is a phenomenon of rising prices of goods and of the factors of production. The price increases may vary to different factors and goods depending on supply and demand on other economic factors. Sustained inflation in a phenomenon of increasing overall level of price that continues over a significant period of time. Hyperinflation is a period of very rapid increases in the overall price level. Deflation is the falling of general level of prices. It is also defined as sustained decline in the average level of prices. Disinflation is a rising general level of prices with negative inflation rate, in other words, increase of prices at decreasing rate. Causes of inflation. Demand pull inflation, cost push inflation, or administered price or sellers inflation or supply side inflation. And last, structural inflation or demand shift inflation. Redistribution effects of inflation. Fixed money income group among savers, debtors, and creditors. Here's the factors affecting aggregate demand. Change in consumer spending, change in investment spending, change in government spending, change in net export spending. Aggregate supply, a schedule or curve showing the level of real domestic output that firms will produce at each price level. There is a direct positive relation between price level and amount of real output that firms offer for sale. Aggregate supply curve has three distinct segments or ranges. The horizontal range, intermediate or upsloping range, and vertical range. Factors that affects aggregate supply: change in input prices, domestic resource availability, land, labor, capital, entrepreneurial ability, prices of imported resources, market power, change in productivity, change in legal, institutional environment. Fiscal policy. In 1930s, Keynes argued that fiscal policy could and should be used to stabilize the level of output and employment in the economy. The fiscal system is a collective term for the combined operation of public expenditure, taxation, and debt. Fiscal policy is a term used to refer the manipulation of public government spending and tax collection for the purpose of achieving full employment, non-inflationary level of net national product. Contractionary fiscal policy is the decrease of government spending and higher tax, or the combination of the two. Here's the component of national budget. The national budget for any given year contains the expenditure for all public activities. It also lists the sources of financing of these expenditures based on existing taxes and other sources of revenues, and includes proposals for 2000 taxation and other forms of finance. And here's the total revenue. The total revenue are the taxes in income, taxes in international trade, excise and sales taxes, other taxes, non-tax revenue. And here's the current operational expenditures: personal services, maintenance, interest, transfer to corporations, allotment, local governments, and the capital outlays. Here's the capital outlays: infrastructure, other capital, capitalization or equity contributions, net lending and overall deficit, foreign borrowing or net borrowing from banking system, other domestic borrowing, and current operation sources, setting different prices for each level. They make handling easier because traders could sort the products they are carrying by brands. So brand equity, brand awareness, and brand image. So brand equity is the added value endowed to product and services. This value may be reflected in how consumers think, feel, and act with respect to the brand, as well as the prices, market share, and profitability that the brand commands for the firm. Brand awareness is consumers' ability to identify the brand under different conditions as reflected by their brand recognition or recall performance. Brand image is the perception and beliefs held by consumers as reflected in the associations held in consumer memory. Packaging is the total presentation of the product. Manufacturers and consumers get the following benefits from packaging. It protects the goods in storage and transit. It makes handling convenient. It promotes the product. It enhances the product. A label is a part of package which carries information about the product. It shows the brand, manufacturer, expiry date, and other information about the product. Here's the three types of labels: brand label, grade label, and description label. Pricing strategies. Pricing is considered as the most important function since it's the only function which lets the money flow back to the business. Price is the amount that society pays for a good service. The rule of price: tell the producers what and how much to produce, perform internal rationing and allocating functions within each producing farm, guides products to the channels of trade, rotation, and goods and services to those who demand it the most. List price is the published price at which the manufacturer would be like the product to sell. Manufacturers' pricing strategies: skimming the market, moving down the demand curve, penetration pricing, preemptive pricing, incentive pricing, formula pricing, and tie-in pricing. Retailers' pricing strategies: competitive pricing, psychological pricing, unit pricing, price lining, special prices. Marketing channels refers to the alternative routes by the worlds of product, producers, and consumers. Here's the functions of marketing channels. They are the transactional, logistical, and facilitating. So transactional refers to the activities controlled with the changes in ownership like negotiating, buying and selling, and risk-taking. Logistical refers to the activities concerned with the physical supply of the product, including transportation, storage, and physical distribution. Facilitating refers to activities that are auxiliary to or facilitate either of the above activities such as collecting and disseminating information and financing and promotional activities. Retailing includes all the activities including selling goods or services related to final consumers for personal or non-business use. Types of major retailers: specialty store, department store, supermarket, convenience store, off-price retailers, superstore, category killer or deep assortment in one category, combination store, example Mercury drug store and grocery store in one roof, hypermarket, catalog showroom, gourmet food store. And here's the other types: variety store, dealership. Types of storeless retailing, direct selling, direct marketing, automatic vending, buying service. Promotion strategies. Promotion is the personal and or impersonal process of assisting a prospective customer to buy a commodity or to up favor upon the idea that commercial significance to the seller. Here's the importance of promotion. It makes the buyers aware of the alternative goods and services that exist. Promotion shorter that distance between the market and the manufacturers by keeping buyers well informed about the different products. Promotion also regulate the level and timing of demand. Promotion methods are the advertising, personal selling, sales promotion, and publicity. Advertising any paid form of non-personal presentation or promotion of the products, a form of mass selling. Personal selling or representation of products, sales promotion are price of bonuses, lotteries, and premiums. Publicity, non-personal form of promotion which aims to attract buyers by publishing commercially significant news about the product in a different media, form of facility. Push selling, manufacturers uses strong personal selling and sales promotion efforts and directed at market channel middleman. Pull selling, manufacturers uses strong personal feeling and sales promotion efforts directed at the final consumers. And